hug it out with the president?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We're going to be there tonight.
Was it a hard choice to call him?
No. Reading the book. We agree. We are committed to the values and the interests and the security of our country together. We have disagreements, as any partners and friends, as we might very well have. But I'm proud that I served with him and for him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him tonight.
Do you think he's handling the situation in Iraq right now? I mean, would you be doing it differently?
I'm excited about signing books. Should we start?
Hillary Clinton has held her very private hug session with President Barack Obama over comments she made in a recent print article. All is nothing but smiles in public when anyone is close to them and they're asked about how they're getting along. And you'll find those partisan pundits who will gladly tell you the President and former Secretary of State are pleased as punch to know each other and will never speak of this again. You are, of course, hopefully noticing the slathering of sarcasm being heaped onto this latest news course. This rift is not going to go away easily, and neither will the opinion that no matter how hard she tries, Mrs. Clinton will never be able to be an effective foreign policy leader. Pleasure to welcome back to MidPoint noted commentator and author of Dirty Words on Clean Skin, the book examining bias against women who dare to lead. Anita Finlay's in the electronic house, and we are also joined by conservative millennial activist, blogger for Politichicks, and radio host Alyssa LaFage joins us. Ladies, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Alyssa, seeing as you're new to this party, let's go ahead and make you first up here. Let's deal with what the former First Lady said right here, that everything's fine, no problem, everything's good, we're clean, we're good to go. You buying it?
I'm not buying it. I don't think that President Obama and Hillary Clinton have ever really had a great relationship. I think it's always been sort of for optics that they've had even any time.
I think we might have lost our audio here, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and run myself right over to Anita Finlay. I'll give you a chance to go ahead and put your 2 cents in here, Anita.
I think that this has been, a partnership that they've forced to make work, and I think that they've done very well at it. I would also say that Hillary Clinton followed the chain of command very closely, and people would accuse her of being a conniving type of a person, and exactly the opposite proved true. I think that they've certainly had policy disagreements, but if you look back at the State Department and administrations that preceded this, there were certainly far bigger rifts than these two seem to have.
No, go ahead, finish.
No, I was just going to say, I think that they've done very well in terms of a partnership, but I think that there are times when she favors a more robust foreign policy than President Obama does, and certainly has more experience in that area. And in many ways, you can say she was proved right. So I think that what was going on in Syria has been going on for quite a while. There was just an article in the Daily Beast today by Josh Rogan talking about that very thing and quoting ex-ambassador Robert Ford, who was the ambassador to Syria, which gives you some more insight into this. But, she's not going to disrespect a sitting president. They're going to do the best they can to make this look as warm and fuzzy as possible. But they do have policy disagreements, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. These are two adults, and they're coming at a difference of opinion. I don't see the problem there.
All right, now you mentioned the words foreign policy. So, Anita, let's get to that right now. There are those people who say that, and the word Benghazi always comes up in any discussion like this. They will say that despite what you just said, Mrs. Clinton does not have the chops in order to be the president in leading with foreign policy. She simply doesn't have it. How would you react to that?
I think that's sort of a ridiculous assessment, because let's take a look at this objectively. Just remember right now that she's the only one on the stage. People are acting not only as though she's a candidate, which she is not yet, but as though she's the de facto president. It's kind of ridiculous. And also look at it in terms of who her competition would be, who the Rand Pauls or Marco Rubios or Ted Cruz's or Chris Christie's, none of whom have any experience whatsoever on foreign policy. And if you read her book, if you listen to the statements that she's made and the people that she's worked with and met with these leaders face to face, I would argue that the other guys are in so far over their head. I mean, I really don't understand why, in terms of Benghazi, yes, it's a tragedy, but as former Secretary of State Colin Powell said, as as tragic as this event was, and it certainly was, losing 4 Americans, these kinds of things in these kinds of situations do happen. And a number of people, including 17 Americans, were killed on George Bush's watch at embassies, compounds, outlets, and so on. So, you know, it's really interesting. I don't remember that level of oversight being held when those incidents happened. And to point that to her and to say that she is responsible for every single security situation that happens in 70,000 people under 270 different outlets, and that she cannot even rely on her senior staff, and you want to blame her for this, that strikes me a bit as gotcha politics, Ed. I'm sorry. I think that's a bit unfair.
All right, Alyssa, let's get to you now because you got a couple of minutes here to get in. Let's weigh this as far as foreign policy is concerned. You heard what Anita said, but there are people out there who say she can't cut it. And Anita said, wait a minute, she certainly can. What's your side?
Well, I want to kind of address what Anita said, because I feel like Hillary has had no real strategic vision. I mean, since she was Secretary of State, I don't really think that she showed us anything other than tactics and optics. It was quite clear.
Oh, boy, we've got that audio problem going on over there again. We're going to give it a second or two to see if it clears up here. Alyssa, are you there? Still got that audio that's still kind of... Well, I'll tell you what, Anita, we're going to try and clean that up. Let me come back to you and talk to that. What about optics? There are people who say that it is all just out there for show.
You know something, that I'm not sure I understand that, because you know what do they think foreign policy is? I mean, we are in the middle of a hotbed of so much violence, and there's so many different areas to deal with. You know, she's sitting down and meeting with foreign leaders and cobbling together all sorts of unions. I don't understand how you can say that there's no overarching strategic vision. Do remember that she's the Secretary of State, again, not the president. She has to follow and carry out the foreign policy of what the president wants to do, whether they have agreements or not. And there are times, certainly, when her influence is brought to bear and she will get her way, for lack of a better way of putting this. And sometimes she isn't going to. So isn't the strategic vision, that's a partnership also? And doesn't that also have to be laid at the feet not only of her but of President Obama? I think if you listen to the things that she has said, even when she was running for president last time, she might favor a different policy than President Obama does. And I don't know that we've ever seen her strategic vision, if you will. And I'm so sorry that Alyssa's audio has been cut off, because I really would like to hear what she has to say about it.
All right, well, here we go. We're going to try and reconnect again. Alyssa, we're going to come back and try it one more time here. Here we go again with regard to this whole discussion here. You've heard Anita a little bit here wondering about this optics and how you can... Wait a minute, she makes a good point that isn't the Secretary of State just someone there who carries the water for the president? Oops. See what happens. Boy, I'll tell you, Anita, for whatever reason, this whole segment has been made just for you. We have the gods working here right now to make sure that you're the only one. And Alyssa could probably come in and say, I don't know, who'd you pay on the side here? But we're not going to go...
Hillary had nothing to do with it.
That's the next thing. We're going to investigate and start an investigation and see if Mrs. Clinton and her people had something to do with this.
Let's have some oversight. That's fine.
All right, wait, couple minutes I got here now. Let me hit you with this. And you've made some very good points here. The people who criticize Hillary Clinton as to whether or not she has the chops, I'm really going to go here, and I never thought I would, but with you I'm going to, because I know I can. Are they questioning it just because she's a woman?
You know what? In this case, no. I think that it's very easy to threaten, and they're threatened by Hillary Clinton. So of course they're going to question everything she does, because they know that she's been voted America's most admired woman for 18 years running.
But isn't that just it? They're afraid of her because she is a strong woman in many ways.
Well, I don't want to make this just about sexism. I think that there is naturally a fear of the encroaching female, but I think it's more than that in this case, Ed. I really do feel that they know how much it's exactly the opposite of what they're saying. The more they say, A, we're not afraid of her, B, she has no foreign policy, C, she has no chops, they are afraid that exactly the opposite is true. And one thing I really want to include here, these guys, because there are no other women that, you don't hear them pushing Susana Martinez, for example, example, a very popular governor of New Mexico who's a Republican. So these guys, it's very easy to, forgive me, grandstand and make these sideswiping comments when they have never had the security briefing, you know, the come to mama moment, as it were. And they don't know what that situation is. She does and has for years. When they're on the national stage and have to answer those reporters' questions every single day, 24/7, about what they feel on every single topic, they're going to find out that it's a lot harder than doing what they're doing now, which is showing up for 5 minutes on camera and casting a glancing blow in her direction. It's very different. So then we're going to see what their strategic vision is. So I would remind people who are critical of Hillary, just remember, she's the only one who is getting 24/7 scrutiny, not only from the right, but very much from the left, who have never really been friends to her in the media. Let's remember that.
Okay,
so
we're gonna have to call it there for time. I will say this, Alyssa, you're back just for a moment. We're all out of time. I promise you, we've done a quick investigation. The Democratic National Committee had nothing to do with what happened here. We've already taken care of that. We will have you back on again to make sure that you get your point here. So I thank you very much for joining us. We'll do it again.
Thank
and
you.
Anita, thank you so much again. Absolutely, we'll see you again real soon.
You bet. Thanks so much, Ed.
All right, thank you, ladies, very much. Don't worry, we had that investigation. We're good to go. Later this hour, going inside the Secret Service, how they deal with presidents and a whole lot more. It's coming up right here on MidPoint, where we question everything.